A lady returns home and says to her husband, You know those headaches I've been talking about for so long? They're gone now. Surprised, her husband asks, Really? How did that happen? She replies, A friend, Margie, recommended a hypnotist to me. He instructed me to look in a mirror and keep saying, I don't have a headache, I don't have a headache, I don't have a headache. And guess what? It actually worked. I'm headache-free now. Feeling happy for her, the husband says, That's truly amazing. Then the wife playfully adds, Lately, you haven't been too energetic in the bedroom. Maybe you should visit the hypnotist. You might have a solution for that too. Taking her suggestion seriously, the husband decides to give it a try. After his visit, he rushes home, hurriedly takes off his clothes, lifts his wife, and takes her straight to the bedroom. Placing her on the bed, he tells her, Wait here. I'll be back in a moment. He dashes into the bathroom and shortly after comes out. Then he joins his wife in bed, and they share a passionate moment like they hadn't in years. Ecstatic, the wife exclaims, That was incredible! The husband responds, Wait here, I'll be back again, and he runs back to the bathroom. This time, his wife's curiosity gets the better of her. She sneaks up and sees her husband staring into the mirror, repeating to himself, She's not my wife, she's not my wife, she's not my wife. After mustering up a lot of courage, George finally decided to share a crucial piece of news with his fiancée. He was ending their engagement because he intended to marry a different woman. His fiancée, completely heartbroken, queried, Is she skilled in cooking like I am? George responded, Absolutely not. Even at her very best, she doesn't have the means to buy you luxurious presents like I do. His fiancée continued, No, she's completely penniless. To which George replied, Yes. She paused, then ventured, Could it be intimacy then? Is she better than me? George was quick to respond, Absolutely not. Nobody can match you, darling. Bewildered and frustrated, she finally asked, So what exactly can she do that I can't? Without missing a beat, George stated, She can sue me for child support. Sam and Becky have been happily married for 50 years. As they celebrated their special anniversary, they talked about all the good and tough times they faced together. Then, out of nowhere, Sam asked Becky, Becky, have you ever cheated on me? Becky was taken aback. Why would Sam ask this after all these years together? But before she could respond, Sam insisted, Please, I really want to know. After a deep breath, Becky finally gave in. Okay, I cheated 3 times. Sam's eyes widened in surprise. 3 times? When did that happen? Becky took another breath before explaining. Well, do you remember when you were 35 and wanted a loan for your business? No bank would help, but one day, the bank manager came to our house and gave you the loan. No questions asked. Sam couldn't believe it. He did that for me? I respect you even more now for doing that. When was the second time? Becky hesitated, then said, Well, when you had a heart attack and no surgeon would operate on you, Dr. Morris traveled here to do the surgery himself and save your life. Sam was speechless, feeling grateful and amazed. I'm so lucky to have you as my wife, he said, tears in his eyes. Okay, what about the 3rd time? Becky hesitated again before admitting, A few years ago when you wanted to be the president of the fishing club and we were 97 votes short. A couple that had grown old together had been blissfully married for a solid 50 years. One fine morning, they were peacefully sitting at their familiar breakfast table. The old gentleman, a sparkle in his eyes, looked at his wife and exclaimed, Just imagine, darling, we've been bound in marriage for a splendid 50 years. Yeah, she responded with a nod. Just let that sink in. 50 years ago, we resided right here at this very same breakfast table, just like today. I know, the old man agreed. But the catch is, we were likely sitting here in sheer darkness 50 years ago. Overhearing this, the wife couldn't help but let out a snicker. She then asked with a mischievous smile, Well then, dear, what do you reckon? Should we take off our clothes? Without a second thought, the two of them stripped down to their birthday suits and sat back down at the table. The elderly lady then declared, You know what, dear? My nipples are just as excited for you today as they were 50 years ago. I wouldn't be surprised, replied Gramps. One is in your coffee, and the other one is in your porridge. A large number of viewers watch my videos without a subscription. Therefore, subscribe to my channel so as not to miss new videos with funny jokes. A monkey lounges in a tree, enjoying a joint, when a lizard strolls by. The lizard gazes upward and inquires, "Hey, what are you doing?" The monkey replies, "Smoking a joint. Come up and join me." So the lizard ascends and settles next to the monkey, and they indulge in another joint. After a while, the lizard mentions his parched mouth and decides to fetch a drink from the river. At the riverbank, the lizard, now quite stoned, leans over too far and tumbles in. A crocodile witnesses the scene, swims over, and assists the intoxicated lizard to the side. Puzzled, the crocodile asks, "What's the matter with you?" The lizard explains that he was up in the tree, smoking a joint with the monkey, and his mouth got dry. In his impaired state, he accidentally fell into the river while trying to quench his thirst. Intrigued, the crocodile decides to investigate. He ventures into the jungle, locates the tree where the monkey is perched, finishing a joint. Looking up, the crocodile says, "Hey, monkey." The monkey looks down and says, "Dude, how much water did you drink, dude?" Upon learning that he was on the brink of inheriting a vast fortune once his ailing father passed away, Bob decided it would be ideal to have a companion to share in the wealth. On a pleasant evening, he ventured to a local singles bar. As he entered, his gaze immediately fixated on an exceptionally stunning woman, leaving him momentarily breathless. Summoning his courage, Bob approached her and began, "I might seem like just another regular guy, but in a short span, maybe a week or two, my father is likely to pass away, and I will be inheriting a whopping $20 million. Intrigued by this revelation, the woman went home with him that evening, and 3 days later she became his stepmother. In a quaint town nestled amid rolling hills, there resided an elderly lady named Miss B. She had been the dedicated organist for the local church for several decades. Despite being in her 80s, her fingers gracefully danced on the organ keys, exhibiting the agility of a young pianist. One Sunday afternoon, the pastor decided to pay Miss B a visit. She welcomed him with her customary warm smile, ushering him into her cozy living room adorned with relics of the past, family pictures, and delicate porcelain figurines. While Miss B excused herself to the kitchen to prepare tea, the pastor settled onto the plush sofa. His gaze wandered around the room, and something caught his attention, an object on top of Miss B's cherished old pump organ. Atop the organ was a delicate cut glass bowl filled to the brim with water. What perplexed him, however, was the lone condom floating in it. The pastor, a worldly man who had seen many oddities in his life, found this unexpected, especially in Miss B's house. Choosing to remain polite, he resisted questioning her about it. Yet, as the minutes passed, his curiosity became insurmountable. Miss B returned with a tray laden with a teapot, cups, and freshly baked cookies. Despite the delightful spread, the pastor's attention kept returning to the bowl on the organ. Unable to contain himself any longer, he pointed to the bowl and gently inquired, "Miss B, if you don't mind me asking, what's the story behind that bowl?" Miss B, with a gleam in her eye, responded, "Oh, isn't it just wonderful? A few months back, during one of my evening walks in the park, I stumbled upon a tiny package. It had some instructions written on it saying to place it on the organ, ensure it remains wet, and it would prevent the spread of disease. Since then, I've diligently followed the directions, and you know what? It seems to work. I haven't had a single cold all winter." An Irishman, a Mexican, and a blonde guy, all construction workers, were having lunch on top of a building. The Irishman, upon opening his lunch pail and finding cabbage and beef, exclaimed, "If I get one more beef and cabbage for lunch, I'm going to jump off this building." The Mexican, finding a taco in his lunch, chimed in, "If I get one more taco for lunch, I'm going to jump off this building too." The blonde man, discovering a peanut butter sandwich, joined in, saying, If I get one more peanut butter sandwich, I'm going to jump off this building. The next day, the Irishman, disappointed to find cabbage and beef again, fulfilled his threat and jumped off the building. The Mexican, encountering another taco, followed suit. Lastly, the blonde guy, faced with another peanut butter sandwich, also jumped off. At their funeral, the Irishman's wife lamented, "If only I knew he didn't like cabbage and beef, I would have packed something else." The Mexican's wife echoed, "If only I knew he didn't like tacos, I would have packed something different." The blonde man's wife, however, remarked, "I don't know what his problem was. He packed his own lunch."